this process, because I get a lot of emails, from people asking me, where do we start? Where do I start when I'm interested in buying a home? Is that something you guys want to go over? Yes?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to put back my glasses. So the first thing is when you're serious about buying a home, I always tell my clients, go meet with your banker. You want to know how much you can afford, so go meet with your banker, and he's going to ask you. Your banker should know about all your assets already, he's going to run your credit history, and he's going to be able to tell you how much you can afford, and eventually give you what we call a pre-qualified letter. That's or a pre-approval letter after, right? When would you usually?
So there's two ways of.
Do you usually provide a pre-approval right away, or
I provide both. So there are two ways of getting pre-approved. Let's just step back a little bit. Before you start looking for properties, you don't want to have any disappointments. So you want to make sure that all your paperwork is in order, as well as you qualify with your credit as well. So let's first make sure you want to get the best interest rates, right? So best interest rates is driven by your credit score. So how do you get the best credit score? So make sure that you don't spend more than 30% on each of your credit cards. If you're planning on buying in a year or 18 months time, open up a merchant account. Go to Banana Republic or Gap, get a merchant credit card. Have 3 credit cards and maybe one other trade line. Ideally, banks want to see that a borrower has 4 active trade lines that have at least a 24-month history. So rather, utilize each of your cards, but spend just no more than 30% of the cards and every month pay it back. That is the fastest way of building your credit. So one, you want to make sure you've got good credit. Set up everything on auto pay.
If you're planning to get a mortgage, of course.
I say for everything, I'm originally from South Africa, and when I came here, the way I had to build up my credit is I had to set up a debit card. I had to pre-fund the card, and after a 12 or 24-month history of showing that I paid my card on time, basically taking the money out of the linked reserve, then they released that, and I could go and get a regular credit card. So one, very, very important, you must have credit.
Yeah, especially if you're planning to buy a co-op, because
Correct.
most co-ops would ask you at least 2 years back.
But mortgage or no mortgage, buying a home or not buying a home,
Yeah.
the US wants to, the way the US system works is they want to see that you're in the system, and what works for the system is having various types of credit, not just one type of credit. We've spoke about money in the bank. So these are all the things that are coming to you, almost knocking on my door to say, now I want to get pre-approved. You want to make sure that your income is good. So if you're self-employed, make sure you don't take too many deductions the year before, and rather pay more taxes. But the underwriters, the banks, will qualify you based on your taxable income, not your gross income. And then the last of the 4 legs of the home buying process, you spoke about credit, we spoke about liquidity, which is your assets, we spoke about income, and now we're going to speak about collateral. So we need to make sure, and this is where Patrick comes in, we need to make sure that the building is good. So Patrick would call me up and say, Richard, my client wants to buy in a 6-unit co-op.
That's right. Boutique co-op on West 125th Street, right? Like a normal co-op, basically.
And I'd like you to check before we make an offer to make sure this building is good for financing with the bank.
Yeah. Exactly.
At the same time, you would have contacted me, and on the phone, I'll ask you a few questions. Tell me about your credit. How much do you make? How much in the bank? You sound good. Based on our conversation, looks like you qualify for X. Or, you're great for a mortgage, but I don't think you're a strong candidate for a co-op. You may be a better candidate for a condo. Why? You need 90% financing, whereas most co-ops go to 80 or 75. So I'll give you some guidance on that. You'll go to Patrick, and Patrick will say, we're making an offer, but the seller's broker won't accept a pre-qualification letter, which is something I can just put together in 2 minutes. The seller's broker actually wants to see that this buyer has gone through the underwriting process. They don't say all those words, but that's essentially what's happening. Which means what clients are often doing with me is they're submitting all their paperwork, we're running their credit, we're getting their tax returns. The file is going to an underwriter. The underwriter is making an underwriting decision and issuing an approval. Why it's called a pre-approval is because you don't have a property address. So when you get your pre-approval, it says, you, Patrick, you're approved for a mortgage of X, and it says property address TBD, to be determined.
I think, Rich, yeah, it's very important what Richard is saying, because many times, buyers, prospective buyers ask me to show them properties, right? And they're not pre-approved or not pre-qualified. So, I take a Saturday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon, I take them to open houses, and of course they see that apartment that they want to buy, but they're not being pre-approved or pre-qualified. And by the time they get pre-approved or pre-qualified, which usually takes between 24 hours or 48 hours, depending on the financials, there's already like 2-3 offers on the unit. So that's why, as Richard said, it's really important to be pre-approved or pre-qualified.